UFC 308 is a spectacular pay-per-view event. It's in the middle of the day in Abu Dhabi, which means we don't have a ton of time to get those bets in, which also means I'm filming this video a little earlier than normal so you can get a quick peek. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to give you my bets for UFC 308. Before we talk about UFC 308, let's go back a week. Let's look at UFC Vegas 99. It was a good card overall. We did quite well. The safety parlay hit at plus money. That's the second in a row at plus money that hit. This one this week is also plus money. I gave you a 20% return on your investment from the bets at UFC 308. Luckily for me, the two biggest landmines on the card, Kyler Phillips and Rebels to Spain, I had them together. So that entire parlay blew up. The rest of the slate did pretty well. If we zoom out even farther, let's take a look at the last 8 cards. Again, more success. I've been on quite a heater here. I'm up big time money on the last 7 of 8 fight cards. A combined 14% return on your investment, and that includes the objectively poor card of UFC Paris. If we go back even farther and we look at only pay-per-views for the entire year of 2024, even more success, 8.76 units of net profit from pay-per-views alone this year. A 22% return on your investment. If you're not familiar with ROI, it's one of the most meaningful numbers. Professional sports bettors who do this for an entire living day in and day out, some of the best people on planet Earth have ROIs between 5 and 10%. Pay-per-views this year, we are at 22%. You can unlock all the picks, all the bets, everything else we have going for this card right now. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. $10 for an entire month's worth of access. That's going to give you not only the picks and bets, but also tools. One of those tools is the data analyzer. It has a full tape index so you can watch the actual fights, do your own research. All the data, metrics, and analytics you could possibly need. You can add, drop, sort, and filter that data. You're also going to get the Prop Hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You're going to get the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fight on every card. And you're going to get all of that and a million other things for an entire month. Here's that month. UFC 308, which is this week. UFC Edmonton, which is next week. UFC Vegas 100, which is the week after that. And then UFC 309, which is the week after that. It's the greatest value in this space. The results speak for themselves. And that doesn't even include all the tools and the insight to help you find your own spots or reaffirm the decisions you've already made. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. The greatest value in this space. Let's talk about this actual card. Before I dig into my actual bets, let's talk in generalities. Let's talk about some confident favorites and some solid underdogs. This is a weird card. This is a very weird card. This feels like a card where there are going to be some big upsets. It also feels like a card where I am confident some of the odds are too far gone. But let's go ahead and talk about it. If I'm looking at favorites, I like Rinat Fakhretdinov. He has a new opponent. His new opponent is a tried and true veteran. Been in the PFL, fought all over the world, big organizations, lots of experience. Big, powerful striker. He's stepping up on short notice, but he also was in training. He had a fight coming up in a different promotion. I still think Rinat's going to do what Rinat does, which is get a bunch of takedowns, not finish, stress us out, but ultimately get the job done. So Rinat Fakhretdinov at minus 200 honestly seems like decent value because some of these other lines are too far gone. Farid Basharat, minus 650, he should win as well. He's fighting a dangerous striker with the eyes of an angel, but he also can do that pitter-patter nonsense. He also, if he doesn't go it all in wrestling, isn't dangerous. Doesn't really control the fight. I do think he's going to go all in on the wrestling. He did that in his last fight. I think he does a little more of it here. And as long as Farid Basharat shoots the takedowns, comes forward, manages distance well, avoids the Victor Hugo power, I think he gets it done. Modobek Oralbai, minus 300. I've gone back and forth on this fight. I've always said Oralbai is going to win this fight. I've just gone back and forth on my confidence level in him because on one hand, he's great. His offensive wrestling is there. He is a literal caveman. They dug him out of a cave, pulled him out, and they said, here, you could fist fight. An actual caveman. They defrosted a glacier, and this dude walks out. Hunchback with his knuckles dragging, but walked out. which means I don't think he's going to get knocked out. I don't think you can knock out a caveman. What he does is wrestle really, really well. He's fighting Mateusz Rebecki. Rebecki is also a dangerous striker with good wrestling, but Rebecki has almost no cardio. I think Holloway can weather an early storm, start to take over, dictate the pace, get his own takedowns, and win this fight. And then Magomed Ankalaev. Nothing would make me happier than watching him lose. Nothing. I don't like his fans. I don't like him. I hated the Khalil Roundtree narrative, and that's why I don't like the fans. The Khalil Roundtree narrative. People acting like it was insane that Khalil Roundtree got the title shot over Magomed Ankalaev. Here's the reality of that situation. Khalil Roundtree had won 5 fights in a row, a longer active win streak than Magomed Ankalaev had. 4 of those fights were won by knockout. People want to make jokes. Oh, he knocked out Anthony Smith and got a title shot. Well, Magomed Ankalaev got a title shot after beating Anthony Smith. And he didn't even knock Anthony Smith out. Anthony Smith hurt his own ankle. Then in his title shot, Magomed Ankalaev shit the bed. He got his legs chewed up and fought to a draw. There's my Ankalaev rant. I won't do another one, I promise. But he's very good, and he's going to win this fight. He's a very good fighter. Nobody's denying that. It's just the cluelessness, the refusal to look at things objectively that's crazy to me. He should win. Minus 405 is probably going to look like good money. The only way it doesn't is if Rakic stays on the outside and lights up his legs the exact same way that old-ass Jan Blachowicz did. If you look at some underdogs, well, we only got a couple. This is not seemingly, at least not right now, a big underdog-heavy card. Obviously, there's a lot of fights that can go either way. But if I'm looking at underdogs that I think can just straight up win, Bruno Ferreira. He's got insane power. Abus Magomedov gets knocked out. It's happened. Bruno has connected. He comes out hot. He's big. He's strong. He's powerful. But if he doesn't get an early finish, he likely loses that fight. But I think he can get that finish. I think he can win there. Ibo Aslan. I believe he opened as the favorite. Now he is the underdog. Ibo Aslan is sloppy. He's sloppy. But his opponent's not the technical assassin himself. And Ibo Aslan comes out there wildly dangerous, super fast, super powerful, super athletic, gets in your face, not afraid to engage. I think Ibo Aslan can absolutely win this fight. Armen Petrosyan. He's fighting Shara Bullet. Here's the problem with that. I broke down Shara Bullet. I went into that fight wanting to be on the Armen Petrosyan side. I wanted to be like, this is the fight we fade Armen. Because we've seen Armen fight a few times. And he's never lived up to the hype. Not one time has Armen looked as good as they told us he would look. Not one time. He has 3 fights in the UFC. 2 are decisions with backing up pitter-patter kicks. And 1 was a finish. The finish was against Antonio Tricoli, who flew to the other side of planet Earth on 3 days' notice and just got exhausted. But unfortunately, if you're on the Armen side, I think Shara Bullet wins the fight. He is good. He is technical. They just sold us a bunch of snake oil about how he's this wild finisher and he's going to stop you with dirty looks and missing teeth. But the reality is he's just going to run backwards and then kick you a million times. That's how this fight's going to go. That's how all the other fights go. But Armen is a good underdog because the one time we saw Armen just really stick to 1s and 2s and stick to the basics was when he fought Christian Leroy Duncan. He stuck to the basics and he just straight up out-techniqued Christian. And if he sticks to the basics and doesn't engage in some crazy bullshit, he can out-technique Shara. There's only so many times Shara can throw a kick before Armen starts to time it and send one right down the middle. I'm not picking Armen, but if I'm looking at good underdogs and I'm looking at it objectively, Armen is one of them. If we take a look at the actual bets, I've got 3.5 units out the door. I say this every week. Last week, I only had 3.25 units out the door, and I gave you 20% return on your investment. That's why the return on your investment number is so important. If your favorite capper, your favorite betting guy brags about, I'm up 89 units, and he spent 150 units, that's not good. You're risking a ton of money. You're risking a fortune. Oh, I put out 19 units, and I brought back 21. I'm up a unit. I'm a little more slow and steady. I'm a little more measured. Safe Ange. Conservative Ange. So 3.5 units out the door. Some cards is more, some it's less. I look at the card. I find my spots. I force nothing. Every single bet I ever place is a bet that I am confident hits. Meaning, you're going to see some people with wild flyers, 28-leg parlays. You're going to see people with, betting a person And there is a strategy to this. I'm not trying to dog everybody, but we're doing well and they're not. You'll see somebody pick this person to win by first round KO, second round KO, third round KO, and whatever. Those all can't hit. So some of those bets inherently you're going to lose no matter what. That's not my approach. Every single bet I put on the board is on somebody who I think wins and a bet I think can hit. Motobek Orba and Farid Bajarat. I took the two very confident favorites or pretty confident favorites. They're not the safety parlay. That is not the safety parlay, and that should be noted. It's something that would normally be a safety parlay, right? A couple of big favorites slapped together. But I'm just not that. There are some red flags there. Orba getting reversed a handful of times, getting swept a handful of times in his last fight. That's a bit concerning. I still think he wins. And I've got him and Farid together. One of those blow it, it's okay. Just that one parlay is gone. You'll also notice what I wanted to do was the over 2.5 rounds on the Farid Bajarat, but I didn't do it because I didn't want to be overly exposed to any one fighter or any one fight. What you're never going to see from me is one guy in 6 parlays, and then that one guy loses, and then I'm shocked and surprised. How did I lose all this money? Because you're overly exposed. Simple, straightforward age. I'm not simple, though. I'm a very complex human being. I have a villains parlay. I've talked about this. If this is the first video of mine you've seen all week, then let me explain what it is. If you've seen the others, you know what it is. I basically took 3 confident favorites. I'm pretty sure all 3 of these people win, but I don't want them to win. We don't want Ankalaev to win. We don't want Hamzat to win. We don't want Ilia Topuria to win. We want Max Holloway to win, the BMF, the people's champ. We want Robert Whittaker to win, the nicest guy in this sport. We want Ankalaev to fall into a pit of despair so all his angry little minions can comment on our chat. So I threw them together. I think they win. This probably hits at plus 167. But if it doesn't hit, it means that Ilia lost. I'll take that hit. I'll spend 1 unit. I'll spend $100. If you said, Angelo, give me $100, Ilia loses. I'm like, bang, here's 200. Make sure it happens. So if this parlay misses, it's going to suck, and I'll have to sit here and be like, I'm down money. But as a fan of this sport, let's hope it loses. Chris Barnett, Kennedy Nzechukwu, over 1.5 rounds. Here's the dynamic. Kennedy Nzechukwu can be gun-shy and tentative. He's a guy that can just stare at his opponents for a while. We've talked about him in the past, how he's always coming from behind. He's never out of a fight. But he ends up behind and having to come from behind because he doesn't let his hands go. He doesn't commit. Takes his sweet time. And on the other side of that cage, you're going to have Chris Barnett. He hasn't fought in over 2 years. He was supposed to fight a few weeks ago, but a hurricane blew through Tampa, where he lives. So now he's flying to the other side of the world after 2 years away. We don't know what he's going to look like. We don't know what's going to happen. I think this could potentially be a staring contest for a little bit, some cage control for a little bit, and I think the over 1.5 may be pretty solid here. I only threw 1/4 unit on it because while I do think it hits, I'm not insanely confident. Armen Petrosyan win inside the distance decision, no action. That rant I did earlier about how Shara is a lot of leg kicks. He is good, but it's a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, just a lot of kicking in general. Armen, pre-UFC, big-time kickboxer. In the UFC, big-time kickboxer with the occasional takedown. Shara Bullet, pre-UFC, finisher, stopping people left and right. In the UFC, kind of a decision point fighter. And I don't think that's his fighting style that changed. I think what happened is the level of competition stepped up and he's just not finishing the tomato cans that he was finishing earlier. All of that being said, what this bet means is if Armen Petrosyan somehow finishes Shara Bullet, catches him, Shara throws a lazy kick, Armen bang right down the pipe. If Shara gets finished and he loses by finish, submission, knockout, whatever it is, this bet hits at plus 160. But if it goes to a decision and Shara Bullet wins a decision, as he has been, we get a full refund on this bet. The only way we lose this bet is if Armen Petrosyan gets finished. And I do not see that happening. And then obviously we have the safety parlay. Plus 101. Last week was plus 127. The week before that was plus 126. Things have been going well. I don't want to jinx it. If you do want to check out the safety parlay and any other bets I'm going to place, I am not done placing bets. You can do so now. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. Let's take a quick look at Jacob. Jacob's got 10 units out the door. If all goes well for him, 18.6 on the way back. Jacob does not have any conflicting bets, meaning he doesn't have a round 1 finish and a round 2 finish or anything like that. Every single one of Jacob's bets in a perfect world can hit. Armin Petrosian plus 141. That is his underdog lock of the week. Go check out his video for the full explanation. He gets into some pretty nitty-gritty details about how Armin is as a traditional stance fighter and how Chara Bullet deals with traditional stance versus southpaws. Whole big breakdown, but Jacob is up 6 of the last 8 underdog lock of the weeks have hit. 6 of the last 8. And one of those losing ones was Jose Aldo, which universally people think he got robbed. He also has a bet on Motobek Orobai minus 3.5 points. So essentially what that means is you're selling points on the judges' scorecards. You typically see the reverse bet where you're buying points. You're betting on the spread. This is betting against the spread, basically. So in order for this bet to hit, Motobek Orobai needs to either finish Mateusz Rebecki or win a 30-27 on one judge's scorecard, a 30-27 on another judge's scorecard, and then on the last scorecard, either a 30-27 or a 29-28. Can't be worse than that. He can't have two 29-28s. He can't get to a split decision. He has to basically dominate. 30-27 across the board, clear as day. 2 out of 3 30-27s, also in the safe. And finish, of course. A couple of other prop bets and parlays that I've highlighted here, but overall, if you want to unlock every single one of Jacob's bets, he also did quite well last week. You can do so now. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 a month. And if you want to check out BetOpenly, they have the best odds. They are not a sports book. They're just not. They are peer-to-peer betting. They're basically a platform that facilitates people betting against each other. And because they're not a sports book, they don't need to take your money. The only reason DraftKings, FanDuel, BetOnline, the only reason they can survive and their shareholders can make money and the owners can make money and their stock price can continue to rise, the only reason that can happen is if they take your money. BetOpenly doesn't give a shit who wins or loses. They're not taking. It's not you versus them. They're just facilitating the exchange, making sure everything is above board, making sure it's fair for both sides. And because of that, they can give you better odds. They don't have to build in profit. Their profit is 1% off the winning side. If you want to check them out, literally the best possible odds you're going to get, WeWantPicks.com/BetOpenly or BetOpenly.com. Give them a look-see. You can take my actual money if the safety parlay loses, Jacob's actual money if the lock of the week loses. And here's a look at 1 month's worth of events. And I'm showing you an entire month's worth of events because if you go to WeWantPicks.com, you become a premium member, you unlock everything we do for an entire month. Here's the 4 events you're going to get. You're going to get UFC 308. You're going to get UFC Edmonton. There's 14 fights on that card. You're going to get UFC Vegas 100, which is a milestone event for the Apex. And you're going to get UFC 309. Every single pick, bet, the artificial intelligence, the tools, all of that for all of these events. $10 an entire month, WeWantPicks.com. And if you want $50, we'll send you $50. We got affiliate deals with basically all the sports books, all the offshore sports books at least. You go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, you click the link, you make a deposit. They're going to pay me. I'm going to slice off some of that money, and I'm going to give it right back to you. Good luck this weekend, guys. This is either the easiest card of the year or sketchy as shit. Hopefully we've found the right spots, avoided the landmines, and we're all going to do well yet again together.